There is a pathway towards compliance, and I think this is the beginnings of a process where all of the trading and custody activity that's currently occurring in arguably improperly regulated venues will migrate to securities compliant ecosystems. As Chairman Gensler has stated multiple times, the overwhelming majority of digital assets are securities and need to be traded as such. And furthermore, that time is running out for virtual currency exchanges to register under the securities laws. Previously, what you could have argued, well, there are regulations, but no one's been approved, so maybe there is no path. But now that Promethium Capital has been approved, that argument is moot.
Hey, everybody. It's Eri from Tokyo. This is your cryptocurrency update from Japan, and that's the co-CEO and co-founder of Promethium. This is really unraveling, and it's unraveling fast. His name is Aaron Kaplan, and he has been in the spotlight since his testimony at the Congressional hearing this last week, testifying as a witness. His team is full of former SEC and FINRA staff. In 2020, they raised a concern that there wasn't enough clarity, but his tune has changed. Yes, this is him at the hearing passing notes back and forth with people behind him. So why all the focus? Well, on May 23rd, they became the very first ever SEC registered special purpose broker-dealer approved to custody digital assets. And what you're about to hear in this video will tell you exactly what Gensler is up to. First, a few questions that he was given from Mr. Flood. Yeah, they were hardball questions too.
Mr. Kaplan, in your testimony, you were very confident that no new legislation is needed in the digital asset space to clarify this question. What has changed between the date of this letter in 2021 and when your firm called for clarity? And now, what has changed?
Over the 2+ years since that time, there's been additional enforcement actions and statement by the SECs, which have clarified any questions that we had in regards to the designation of a digital asset as a security.
Mr. Kaplan, Promethium's website says that Promethium ATS supports, quote, many tokens that mostly trade on crypto exchanges, end quote. I'd like to dig in on that just a little bit. Can Promethium customers trade in Ether? If your answer is yes, please explain how.
Not currently.
Can Promethium customers trade in Bitcoin? If your answer is yes, please explain how.
No.
Just for the audience at home's benefit, Ether and Bitcoin make up more than 60% of the digital asset market. Mr. Kaplan, given that either Ether and Bitcoin make up more than 60% of the digital asset market, if the current system is working, why can't your customers trade the most popular and widely used digital assets?
Regulation and new ATSs and custodians should take a crawl, walk, run approach, and essentially they will proceed to add additional assets and abilities as time goes on. I'd like to point out when the...
I'm going to reclaim my time. Mr. Kaplan, did Promethium receive any additional exemptive relief from the SEC that has not been publicly shared?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplan. Promethium's special purpose broker-dealer license does not address the core issue. There is not a consistent definition of a digital asset security within current law. This point was made obvious when Chair Gensler could not say definitively whether Ether is a digital asset security when asked by Chairman McHenry in this very room a couple months ago. In other words, that same question that Promethium themselves raised in their 2021 comment letter is still unanswered. That's why legislation is needed. That's the problem that the chairman's bill works to solve. To testify in front of our committee that your company's charter, which only allows for trading in a very small subset of assets, is evidence that no legislation is needed, just doesn't make sense. If anything, the fact that Promethium's customers cannot trade some of the most popular digital assets is an illustration of the broader problem, Mr. Kaplan. I yield back.
Yes, his pro-Gensler stance doesn't make sense. Or does it? Listen to him just a few months ago, just after they began to work with the SEC on their license. It's clear Promethium is betting on Gensler that he will take control of the entire market.
If you follow Chairman Gensler, and I'm sorry if this goes too much into regulatory stuff, but Chairman Gensler from the SEC has basically said that in his last big, interview, wherever it was, said that crypto exchanges should be registered under securities laws, that they're trading securities, and that basically, if you read through the lines, given that he's a very capable and focused man, I don't know if a reckoning's coming, but there's going to be a point in time when there's an official designation. And when that occurs, it's going to be difficult for the major crypto exchanges in the United States who aren't registered under securities laws or registered as money service bureaus with money transmitter licensure to be as active in the space and to have list as many assets. Given what I mentioned before about the chairman's comments that a lot of securities are trading on crypto exchanges, I think they provide those specific, classification or those grouping of assets, which is a lot of assets. It's not a few, right? Those provide a good source of potential listable assets on our ATS.
So what we've seen is that the existing Wild West crypto financial services infrastructure, we're seeing its demise. And that's a result of runaway innovation without regulation. So in my opinion, the federal securities laws are the best framework as is to regulate digital asset securities. And what we've seen is that people who argue for new regulation or that there's a lack of regulatory clarity or that regulation kills innovation are the people who are best served by that. They're not the people, they basically need new regulation because there's a lot of skeletons in those closets.
But you don't think we did?
Absolutely not. In my opinion, almost every crypto, besides for Bitcoin maybe, is a security. Therefore, that governs the custody of all those assets besides for Bitcoin.
Fair. How far are we away from an official designation from government? Everyone's got their views. You talk about Gensler, you talk about, but when is it going to be official? Next week? 3 years from now?
Some people might argue that it became official with the library decision, which basically has very similar fact patterns to what's going on with Ripple. And I think has established a precedent that will play out in the Ripple case.
Right.
I don't know if it's because the LBC token was much smaller, so people didn't pay as much attention. But if the same course of events occurs when it comes to Ripple, is that going to be the line of demarcation?
Right.
And the one thing I would note is that the SEC is undefeated in these cases.
I firmly believe that the overwhelming majority of digital assets, as Chairman Gensler has suggested, are securities, and that the federal securities laws are the best framework to regulate digital asset, and the SEC is the best agency to enforce those regulations. There's a very high chance that XRP will be declared a security, and we'll see how it plays out from there. If that is declared, I think some people would argue that that's the precedent that a lot of these other tokens, these smart contract-based network tokens. So everything basically besides for Bitcoin is a security, and therefore it has a significant ripple effect, if I want to be poetic.
Right. But we've heard so much optimism from some industry players saying, oh, it's things are looking good based on this decision, that decision, based on this opinion. We're expecting the judge to come down on the side of Ripple. You don't think that's likely to happen?
No.
What gives you the idea that you can trust the SEC, to be honest? I mean, you might have gotten an approval now, but what sort of safeguards are you putting in place just in case, I don't know, maybe a commissioner wakes up or a chairman wakes up and says, yeah, this is security. These are securities. This isn't good. Anybody who's a custodian is a custodian of it, is doing something they shouldn't do. What kind of, what's to stop that from happening?
I would argue that those entities often have skeletons in their closets, and that their previous actions weren't necessarily in line with the federal securities laws. At the moment, we haven't announced our assets, but I would say that Chairman Gensler has said that the overwhelming majority of digital assets are securities, arguably everything except for Bitcoin, and we take the same opinion on that.
So no XRP?
I would argue that XRP is more likely a security than a non-security.
So Ellie Terrett of Fox Business News, she had an update. She was scheduled to have a call with Aaron at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time today, but was told it couldn't happen because of a conflict that came up and that they would be in touch next week. Boy, I hope she can interview this guy. There was some late-breaking news. That's Ripple and Persis, the partner that is doing the smart contracts as a third-party bridge for Ripple and the XRP ledger. They're going to be working with Colombia's Banco de la República. Yeah, I think I said that okay. In advancing the implementation and utilization of blockchain technology. It's a pilot program, and they're going to evaluate high-value payments this time. Wow. With use cases using Ripple's CBDC platform based on the core technology of the XRP ledger. And let me grab your attention to look at Oscar Arnason. He is in Iceland. He's passionate about animation and filmmaking. Wow, this is some talent. You just will enjoy this to no end, especially since the Hinman emails just came out. I'm going to play just a short portion of his newest animation. What I want you to do, I want you to go to Twitter, give him a follow. I'm going to put his Twitter handle in the description of this video, and then you can watch it in its entirety. Oscar, you're just brilliant. Do enjoy. And until next time, take care. Sayonara for now. Bye-bye.
Listen, everybody. Listen, quiet. We need to decide what he'll think quickly. I want to hear everyone's ideas. Let's just see what sticks. Pamela, what you got?
I don't know. Couldn't he just talk about, like, the duck test?
The what test?
The duck test.
What the f is the duck test?
Well, if it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it must be a duck.
Yes, that's it. I love it.
That is by far the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Oh, yeah? You got a better idea?
Where is Hinman? Shouldn't he at least be here for this?
He's got bigger fish to fry. He's at one of his important business lunches.
The billmaster himself, finally making some bills of his own. So what do you say? Do we have a deal?
I'll make sure Ether will be fully cleared, but I'm going to give the kid a call and run everything by him first, just to make sure I don't say anything wrong. Yes, the documents are in secure location. No, it can't be. Mr. Deaton, I thought we took care of you. I mean, it's not what it looks like.
He's not worth it, John. What do you say we get these documents to the XRP community?
Why don't you go ahead without me? Me and Hinman here are gonna have a little talk.
No, don't leave me with him.
Sorry, buddy. Tin Wu says I need to be back by 8 o'clock. Women. Haha. Am I right?